All right, welcome to A Friday Reads, where I talk about what I read, what I'm reading, what I hope to get to next. And this one is I have a lot more books that are in my mood reading pile than normal because I'm house sitting. I'm house sitting not too far away from my apartment, but I'm not at my apartment every day. So I wanted to pack a bag. And if you follow me on Instagram, I kind of did 5 or 6 rolls of the Bookopoly to pick which books that I was going to bring with me to the house. So I'll show you those. And I have finished a fair few things. I've continued stuff. It's been pretty good. I have hauled one new book, only one, because it was basically brand new, used at the bookstore for $7, so how could I not? And yeah, that's what we will talk about today. So first thing that I finished since last talking to you, I actually believe was It Would Be Night in Caracas. So this is a Venezuelan translation, and I believe it's I think it's between 2010 and 2020, Caracas, Venezuela. Arguably could maybe still be today, but I think that's where I'm placing the events. And I feel like I've seen around that this has been compared to crime fiction or things like that. This is definitely more of a literary contemporary piece that is translated by a former Venezuelan reporter. She lived in Caracas for, I think, 30 years. She was born and raised there and then moved to Spain. A lot of people from Venezuela have moved to Spain or other countries because of, well, the book kind of goes into it. It was really heavy and hard to read just because I already knew what's been happening in Caracas and other major cities in Venezuela. My family's Venezuelan. I spent a lot of my time going, thank goodness they don't live in Caracas, because it's really one of the places where when things get bad, and it gets bad in waves, it gets the worst there. And this really highlights it. In addition to, though, I think another part of the story I really enjoyed was our main character is looking at her own identity and sense of self in this very stressful moment. She has just lost her mother, and her home is being invaded by a lot of the revolutionaries on the street. And so her life is really stressful. So we have the kind of classic literary device of flashbacks and present day, and we kind of go between the two. And as someone who's really not been able to learn a lot about modern Venezuelan stuff, besides from my family when they choose to talk to me about it, but no matter how many questions you ask, they don't always answer. We just talk about normal stuff. We don't talk about the culture of Venezuela, I really got to see things I related to. And this is oh yeah, that's the type of food we eat here or there. But I also got a better sense of what Venezuela was like in the 1980s. I always heard about how big of a melting pot it used to be and how that plays into our main character's identity, because there were a lot of different European immigrants that came there. There's definitely colorism. There was a lot of good discussion of identity that I liked, and also liked as someone who's always wanted to just interact with art that lets me engage more with this part of my heritage that I don't get to engage with a lot because I can't speak Spanish, and because my family doesn't really talk to me about it, because I think for a large part of it, they're sad. A country that they loved is a pretty difficult place to be. I have a friend, her channel's Mooney Reads. She is Venezuelan, lives in Spain, and one of the reasons she won't pick up this book is she wants to remember Caracas as a beautiful city where she spent the best years of her life. So if you want insight into some of how the worst that Venezuela can be, you can read this. Obviously, it's a work of fiction. Obviously, the author is kind of using this also, I think, to yell into the void to get people to pay attention. I'm not saying this is a nonfiction piece, but if you want a lens into it, I don't know. I don't know who this is for. I know a lot of my enjoyment came from my personal want and need to connect more with Venezuelan stuff. So that was rambly. I read this in one night because it is very short. So yeah. I also finished The Sweetness of Water for book club. I like discussing it at book club more than reading it, and I think part of that's just a genre problem. Historical fiction doesn't always work for me, and then I think within historical fiction, right, you can cover so many different countries and time periods and stuff, so in historical fiction, there are things that I can find that I like, but in general, I have yet to enjoy reading about the American South, specifically its history, mainly because, especially in this case, it is almost always just yeah, everyone sucks. It's just lots of hardship, lots of traumas. I don't think this was done badly or anything like that. And although technically this is one of the few pieces that looks at right after emancipation, it's that moment of Reconstruction era, I honestly felt like I had seen this story told many times personally, and I thought the characters kind of all fell flat, because I think this is a debut, and a debut that did very well. Long listed for the Booker. We bit off more than we could chew here with character perspectives. I think that's where I landed, because if we had just focused on George and his wife, or if we just focused on the freed brothers. But instead, we kind of had like 6 to 8 perspectives and storylines and threads, and it wasn't even like the community was a real character to me. But in general, I was in the minority. A lot of people at my book club really liked it. But I just think this isn't my favorite type of historical fiction, like, focus, this time period and setting. And it was done well, but not amazing, in my opinion. So, but it was good for a discussion, and for once, before COVID, we used to get a certain number of people, and we're finally kind of back to those numbers, and it just makes me happy, because I've kind of missed seeing people, and obviously everyone has to come and do things at their own comfort level, but it was just nice as the person who moderates the book club to, like, see people and not have to be the one talking because everyone was just chatting. It was a good time. Another one that I finished is The Icarus Girl, and I really like this enough that I nominated another book by this author for my local book club, and we're going to read it in a few months, especially because this is like their debut that they wrote when they were 19, and I'm like, I don't know what you were doing at 19, but making art like this was not what I was doing. And I'm not saying this is like a favorite book of all time, and part of it is I read it when my head was just like not having a good time. I was having a bad couple days of anxiety. But I did end up getting to finish like the latter half of this when I was in a better headspace and I could appreciate it more. We follow Jess. She's an 8-year-old. She's Nigerian and British, and she goes to Nigeria at the beginning and kind of meets a friend. And this friend, it's very obvious, is not human, is not a normal person. And you kind of see how this friend helps Jess, but then the more nefarious, but, malevolent features to this new friend. And there's a lot that I thought was done well here. This was a really, I think, good use of childhood imagination, childhood's ability to believe in magic paired with horror. It definitely is like a supernatural thing. This isn't like the magical realism, is it or isn't it? I think my takeaway is it has supernatural stuff, but I do think it's balanced really well with, like, if you were just reading a normal literary contemporary of just, like, this young girl who is biracial, dealing with belonging, her identity, just growing up. She's definitely smart for her age, but doesn't necessarily want to be with the people a year above her. She doesn't have friends. She doesn't fit in. She doesn't really know how her mom feels about her. Like, there's a lot in this little girl. And I thought she was written really well. So I enjoyed how she was written. I enjoyed the messiness of it. I enjoyed the messiness of family dynamics and raising a kid and, like, trying to meet the kid where they are. Like, I thought a lot of this was done really well, and I loved a lot of the themes, and I liked getting to discuss it with Evie. So far, I think this is my favorite of the books Evie gave me. It's, like, tied with Their Eyes Were Watching God. All 3 of the books Evie have given me have been great, even if she hated everything I gave her. All the things she's given me have been great. So I think those are the things that I've finished. I'm still working on The Way Spring Arrives. I am this far, so I should finish it by the next time I check in. I'm really enjoying it. Like, I don't really know why it gets such lukewarm reception. Like, I think it's like a solid 4-star collection for me so far, especially with its project. I definitely have favorites. I definitely have Sons that don't land as well. That's like an anthology. It's not my favorite anthology of all time. That's still New Sons. But yeah, so since I last talked to you guys, let's see. I already talked about Baby I Love You, I think, last time. So, A Brief History of Bannakin Disasters as Told in a Cinetech was awesome. I really liked that one. Dragon Slaying was disturbing. And let's see, are there any other ones that, like, left an impression? No, I think those 2 were, like, since I last read, like, the 4.5 star stories. Like, I really enjoyed those. So, it's been good. I'm really glad that I've picked this up. It's been also revealing in terms of where people focus on narrative structure and themes in different countries. Like, that's what's always fun about picking up translated works. I'm still in the middle. I'm near the end, I think. I think I only have a couple hours left on my audiobook of Stephen King's Fairy Tale, which, honestly, biggest surprise of the month is that this has been one of my favorite reads of the month. Like, I don't mean to be a hater. It's just, like, I truly usually only have solid 4-star experiences with King. I think Lisey's Story was the first time I almost had a 4.5 star book. And this might be a solid 4.5 star. I don't know for sure, but I'm enjoying my time. We've definitely switched into the more fantastical parts since I've last talked to you, and I do think I enjoyed the contemporary parts more. but it is kind of the dark fairy tale stuff that I enjoy. So we're doing really well. Like, he's just using a lot of tropes that I love. He's pulling from a lot of IPs that I grew up with and loved. Like, and that's the thing, is like, I don't know how well this works for people who didn't grow up with these childhood fairy tales and who didn't care or resonate with things like The Never-Ending Story or Narnia or anything like that, Wizard of Oz. But like, I've been pairing this with like Pan's Labyrinth and Never-Ending Story kind of meshed together in terms of its fantasy aspect. We've also kind of like, I really liked when the plot of this book was centered around helping heal this creature. And we've kind of pivoted into a more traditional fantasy plot, and I'm like, this is fine. But I actually loved how simple our motivations were for a large part of this book. But I'm still nervous about some characters. I don't really know where this is going and if it'll stick the ending, but I did buy my dad a copy because he loves Stephen King, and I'm like, this has been a really fun time. I think you'll enjoy reading it, so we'll see what he thinks when he picks it up. I'm also jealous that all the physical copies have pictures. I'm listening to the audiobook, and I don't have pictures, so like, I don't know. It would be nice. Things that I am still in the middle of that I've started. So I started Mongrels by Stephen Graham Jones, and it's great so far. I'm like 80 pages in. Yes. Something I don't love. So I'm immersion reading this with the audiobook. And when we're in the perspective of our main character, what is his name? Nope, that's Libby, that's Darren. I don't remember his name. Have they given me his name? Maybe I don't know his name. That could happen. Regardless, our main character has first-person perspective chapters by an audio narrator. Great. Every other chapter is third person, and it's a different narrator, and I don't like his narration. And I don't quite know yet why we have this narrative framework. I'm sure the book will answer the question for me. I don't actually hate the alternation between first and third, and it's third person still the character to my understanding. So I don't know the purpose of that, going from super close to distance every other chapter. But that's not my complaint. My complaint is that the audio quality decreases on those third perspective. And it's not even just the narrator voice. It's like the microphone he used. Like, it's significantly not as good. But the content I am enjoying. I am enjoying this look into werewolves and how they fit into society and what they have to do to survive and what comes as like benefits and not benefits of being a werewolf. Like, there was a section on like all the ways they could die and like something about pantyhose and like stuff I would have never thought of. So like the science, the magic of werewolves is really interesting and how it's been world built and described, and I've been eating that exposition up. And like, I don't know if I really care about the characters at the moment, but I'm intrigued. I'm along for the ride, I guess I would say. The next book I'll talk about is the one I picked up because I am trying to find a book that makes me want to read until like 2 a.m. I'm still working on that. I've read good things this month, but I haven't read like a book where it's like, oh, all I want to do is read, which sucks because all I have is reading time. You know how frustrating it is to have reading time, but can't find the book that makes you want to read. It's something. But I am having good luck with Ocean's Echo, which is a sci-fi romance. I read Winter's Orbit. I have a review. I'll link that down below. I'm liking this significantly more than Winter's Orbit. I think that's because of like our setup and the characters we're focused on, even though these characters do have parallels to characters in Winter's Orbit. Like, this author has a type when she writes character dynamics. But one of our characters is a reader, so he can read minds, and in this part of the galaxy that is something that needs to be controlled. They are fearful of it. I don't quite know why yet. And then there's another talent called an architect, and they can basically force you to do things, which I think is worse, but is not seen as worse. So again, I feel like I don't have all the context. But in this story, our main character is kind of put in a situation where he's supposed to sync up with this architect, and it's like kind of an irreversible bond, and it's how they keep the readers in check. And it's about these two characters and why they don't want to do that and how they're going to get around that. And I'm liking it. I'm liking the world building. I like both these characters. And I think because this is not a murder mystery plot, kind of like the first book, I'm having more fun. Like, it's not the fake dating trope, but it's its cousin, and I'm enjoying that. So we'll see. I'm still early days. Like, I'm further along than in the bookmark because I've been using my ebook, but I'm probably like this far. And so those are all the things I'm in the middle of. And then on the Instagram thing, the other two I'm going to pick up, well, tonight we have reading sprints for Shadows of Self, so I'm going to start this. It's going to be fun. So I got this one to read because, not this weekend, but next weekend, we will have our live show for this, I believe. It's the 24th, whenever September 24th is. I don't really know what time is at the moment, but I'm pretty sure it's that Saturday at noon. I'll have the time linked down below and the live show linked down below. So we're going to do sprints on Friday, and I'll pick this up then. I also rolled for a graphic novel, so I think I'm just going to keep going with my Batman journey and read The Long Halloween, especially because as we get close to October, and Ryan has the sequel to The Long Halloween, which maybe the movie will pick up from that, which means maybe I'll get a Robin in a movie. Can it happen? And I mean like an actual Robin. We haven't had an actual Robin in a very long time. Another book that I did roll, I don't know if I'll actually get to. It'll depend, because I don't know if I'll be in the headspace to be this thinky, but Brown Girl in the Ring. I did roll this, like I was supposed to randomize my TBR, and this is what came up. And do I torture Evie and say I'm going to read this book instead of Spear Cuts Through Water? In reality, Spear Cuts Through Water, which apparently I left at the house, is the one that I rolled, and I'm going to read that one because I'm really excited and I hope it works because it's in second person, and I love Simon Jimenez's other work, so I'm hoping. But I also do need to read this, and Evie put this on my TBR. Evie could have put Spear Cuts Through Water on my TBR, and Evie hated everything I gave her to read. So should I torture her and read this instead? But that would also only be hurting me, but I think about it. But I do want to read this soon, and this might be like, if I actually somehow read all of this, a thing I would pick up. And then the book that I hauled that I'm very excited about, and I think I'm going to try and read it in October, because I think it might be tangentially spooky. I think there's shape-shifting, which I associate with, spooky season. But regardless, I've been wanting to read this for a while. It's the first in a duology. It's Lobezona, and it's an Argentinian author, I believe. It's about it's an Argentinian author. It's about undocumented immigrants. It's YA. I think it's werewolves. I truly do. I think it has maybe gender commentary. I don't know. Bethany from Beautiful Bookish Bethany likes it. Audrey Perpetual Pages likes it. And I've been wanting to read it. And it was like brand new for $7. So when I saw it in the used bookseller of my bookstore during book club, I grabbed it. I grabbed that right off the shelf. But yeah, that's this update. I've been reading a lot. I've been in a better headspace. So yeah, we'll see. We'll see if I can keep the momentum up. We'll see if I find books that steal my heart. Because I've had a good reading month, but it's not been like a great reading month. And part of that is my headspace. And also, I'm not planning on making a video on it because I don't think I have anything nuanced to say. But House of the Dragon's great. As someone who's not like a Song of Ice and Fire fangirl, it's great. I'm having a fan-freaking-tastic time. So just in case you cared, I'm really liking that show. But if you want to leave an emoji, leave a werewolf, because I feel like I showed you 2 werewolf books. So like a wolf emoji. I know there's a wolf emoji. Some weeks I don't know what emojis exist. I just say something. And you guys, you do your best, and I really appreciate it. And if you want, tell me what your plans are for reading. Are you liking House of the Dragon? Otherwise, like if you liked it, subscribe if you want to, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.